Author Genevieve Roberts used a sperm donor and says it's the best thing she ever did because it gave her a beautiful daughter. Meanwhile, journalist Hilary Freeman says it's selfish for women to choose to have a baby alone and admits she would never even consider starting a family without a partner by her side. Welcome to you both. So right off the bat, it's a bit of a controversy because, you know, two completely different opinions. And Hilary, I'm going to come right to you. Tell us why you think you should have two parents and, in order to raise a child.
I think it's about choosing to be a solo parent. I think lots of people are single mothers through circumstance, and then they do fantastically, and that's great, and I see nothing wrong with that. You can be a brilliant single mother, but choosing to have a child on your own, I think you're denying your child a father, you're denying your child that relationship, and also you're making life a lot harder for yourself as well. And you know, parenting is a shared enterprise, and I think it's better if you can to do it as a couple.
You know, people do say it takes a village to raise a family. I certainly live by that rule, and you know, I grew up, my dad wasn't around, my mum raised us alone.
Sure.
And a lot of people are in those circumstances. So does it really matter? Are we in 2019 where if you want to make a decision to have a child, lots of people get stuck in anyway?
But do they, though? Because people are lonelier than ever and people live far away from their families now. And also, if you
it's not just a family thing, isn't it? You kind of make your family to raise your child.
Sure, but in terms of, you know, if there are two parents, there are also two sets of grandparents, lots of uncles and aunts and cousins and more friends.
Hopefully.
Whereas if there's only one parent, that's halved already.
But in my instance, if I were to have a child, my husband Scott and I, if we're far away from his parents and also maybe far away from mine, our immediate family are our best friends. Sure. And they're the ones who would then come in. So that, for us, that's our family unit in our village. But
you're a couple. Right. Two of you.
Yes, but I'm always away and working, so Scott would be the one who's responsible. He'd be like a single dad. He'd be responsible for raising the child.
Sure, so if you're a single mum and there isn't a partner and you need to work, then what happens?
Well, all right, so that's one point of view, and let's jump over to Genevieve, because, you know, whether it's a partner that you have or a father, it doesn't necessarily, it's not about gender, was what we're trying to get about here, right? It's about having a partner. So, you know, you think completely opposite.
Well, I believe that love and support are the most important things for a child, and I think that can probably come, whether it's two men, two women, one woman, one man, 5 parents, loads of grandparents. I'm also with you. I think that you kind of increase your family. You can create godparents, really important male role models in my daughter's life. So I feel that she is really rich with people that love her. So for me, that worked really well.
It's a very fortunate situation to be in a position, you know, where you've been with a long-term partner, and that is a very fortunate situation. So if you haven't got that, then you do need to seek other options.
Yes, I mean, if there's no other way of having a child, I totally appreciate that, you know, that is something that you might have to do if you really, really want a child. But, I mean, that should be a last resort. That's all I'm saying. It's not something, you know, I can see lots of disadvantages to doing it and not many advantages. It doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, but it'd be better to have another partner. And I didn't meet my partner until I was 40.
Right, but Hilary, you'd said in some of the stuff when you were talking to some of the researchers that you, that other partners that you had, correct me if I'm wrong, other partners that you had, you didn't stay with them because they didn't want to have kids.
I was in a very long marriage that my ex-husband didn't want to have children, yes.
Yes. Okay, so, I mean, never ever crossed your mind being a woman, a strong woman, a career woman, that you could then go by yourself and you would do it by yourself? Never you always wanted to have the partner with you?
I always wanted to have a family, not just a child. I think that's what it was partly.
You wanted the whole picture?
I wanted the whole picture. Yeah. And also, you know, I was thinking through the practicalities. This is about, I'm being pragmatic rather than moralistic here. It's not about that. No. It's about the fact I have a health condition and I worried that I didn't want my child to have to become my carer. I want, you know, if I did get sick, I wanted somebody to share the responsibility, you know, that kind of thing. I didn't really want to put that burden onto a child.
Do you think a child should have a relationship with its biological parent?
Yes, and that's the other thing about sperm donation that worries me, that the child won't grow up knowing who their parent is and won't be able to find out about their parent until they're much older. And I think, you know, until recently, the sperm donors were allowed to be anonymous. I know that's not the case anymore, but that's another, you know, and I know there was some research in America that said that children of sperm donors used to, you know, said that they would walk around the streets and wonder, is that man my dad? Is that man my dad? And it had quite a big impact on their identity.
But then I kind of grew up like that because as I said, my mum raised me, and it wasn't through these circumstances. It was because my dad wasn't around, and I kind of grew up a little bit like that. I would see a guy thinking
But your mum didn't choose that for you. That's different.
No, I know, but it's not harmed me. That's kind of my life, and that's the situation. That's my life as I know it.
You're no less
No,
a
I
strong,
don't think so.
independent woman and good mother because you were raised that way.
No, I don't think
So, Genevieve, you are kind of on the cusp of saying whether it's good that children should know their biological parents.
I absolutely think it's so important that the law changed, and you now have teenagers who soon will be 18 and they will be able to trace. I don't think it's so that someone can come in, you know, as a dad figure very late in the day, but I think just to be able to kind of work out, you know, for my daughter, I suspect she's going to be a lot more sporty than I am, just so she can kind of have that contact and understand her history. I think...
Well, also for medical history, if there's any medical issues with the sperm donor.
But, I mean, I have...
And it's always going to be a curiosity, isn't
exactly,
it? I think that's...
And if it is, I mean, if it isn't, I think it's totally her choice, but I would absolutely support and facilitate anything to do, you know, you know,
well, that's you being a very good mum, you know, leaving it up to your child to, you know, supporting your child.
But, I mean, I do have some information, and already, you know, the counselling that single women are given before they enter into this, and I think, you know, a lot of them, it is this huge longing, and they do tend to be a bit older, but you do... I already talked to her about her family, the people who love her, and then the donor.
Do you find it good? Because sorry to interrupt you, but do you find it good that I shouldn't say good? Do you find it easy being good cop, bad cop, both? Because usually in partnerships and relationships, you have a good cop and you have a bad cop. Sure. You all know what I'm talking about, right?
I think I'd find it harder to be cast in the role always of a bad cop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's very fun
Welcome
as a
to my
parent.
world.
Yeah. So I think it's nice that I do get the chance to be both. I think it's hard to be the disciplinarian all the time.
Yes.
And so in that way, I think there's a certain freedom that comes from that.
Parenting is never easy.
No.
It's never easy. Oh, my goodness. If only. We've had so many comments, as you can imagine, coming on this. Lucy Henry says, I'm a single parent and I made that decision knowingly. I did feel selfish, but I knew that I'd be a good mother. So why shouldn't I bring a child into the world that would be loved and cared for?
Yeah, and Yolanda Gardner says, single parents deserve a medal. I can't imagine doing it alone. My husband is such a wonderful support and role model for my kids. I believe one loving parent is 100 times better than kids growing up in an unhealthy, loveless home.
Yes.
And that's one thing we're making clear here. We're not judging you on your parenting because you're both probably wonderful mothers. It's just their faces there. It's just the difference of opinion.
We all do it differently.
Yeah.
We all do it differently.
If I can say, I believe that if you know, anybody who can raise a child, whether it is adopted, whether it is a child that you've given birth to, if you're a mom's one of the best jobs in the world. But if you can adopt a child or whatever and give a child a great life, that's the best gift you can give.
Yeah.
Best gift ever.
Sure.
Thank you both.
Thank you,
you.
ladies.
Thank you.